Hello everyone, this is part 2 of my update for April 11th. It is currently 8:20, and what you have in front of you here is the GFS. Alright, this is the pretty much the total precip as GFS thinks will be occurring, alright. Pretty similar to the European model. Yeah, maybe not as much into these regions. Also kind of a little less into Appalachia and kind of North Carolina, Georgia, those areas, but still being pretty consistent in the Northeast as an overall perspective. Perhaps a little more New York City, New Jersey, Long Island. Alright, so yeah, that's what the GFS thinks will fall from the sky in terms of totals. Alright, so let's move forward into what the GFS thinks will occur, right? So at this point, which has already happened, GFS thinks there'll be a center of pressure right in through right here, right along this line. Alright, and shows a pretty good squall line kind of into these regions. Which one can you see better? But yeah, pretty much all the precip remaining out of the Northeast. Some light to moderate stuff falling into Michigan. Alright, nothing too crazy going on there yet. Let's move forward another 6 hours to 2 a.m. Friday. Alright, you can see the shows a pretty 1000 millibar center of pressure hovering pretty much right over Pittsburgh. Some kind of heavier pockets up into the UP of Michigan. Still a pretty significant squall line kind of moving through the southeast. Light rain, snows beginning to work their way into upstate New York, these areas, Massachusetts. Yeah, perhaps some kind of pop-up thunderstorms ahead of that squall line. Alright, let's move forward to 8 a.m. here. Still is showing that center of 1000 millibar, pretty much the strongest, I believe, out of all of the models that I look at. Uh, um, Shows some pretty heavy precip sitting right over Buffalo, pretty much kind of on the lakes, it looks like, though. Squall line pretty much kind of diminishing, perhaps some heavier pockets into parts of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Del Mar, Maryland, right? And some pop-up thunderstorms in the southeast. If we move forward to 2 p.m. on Friday, kind of shows the storm weakening a little bit to make this energy transfer to the coast over here. Alright, shows some pretty heavy, perhaps thunderstorms over Long Island. Yeah, moderate to heavy over pretty much all of New England. Looks like northern Maine won't be seeing their precip till later on in the event. Still some pop-up thunderstorms here. Kind of some lingering precip into these areas. Alright. If we move forward a little more here, kind of shows this lingering area of pressure into the Great Lakes regions. New area of pressure forms right off the New Jersey coast. Heavier precip along kind of the Cape and the islands, moving up moderate into northern New England. Some light to moderate stuff there. Looks like there could be some perhaps a little bit of a smaller squall line develop right into these regions, bringing some thunderstorms and some heavy rains, but I don't expect anything too severe on that. But after all, Carl is our severe expert here at Eastern U.S. Weather. Sorry about that. Alright, so let's move forward another 6 hours. You can see still that kind of lingering area of pressure up there. Really not too much going on here. Just perhaps some scattered showers. Squall line develops offshore, and the center of the storm kind of moves its way south of Nova Scotia, very similar to what the Euro had. Perhaps some kind of more moderate precip into northern New England, but pretty much all this precip is departing. Alright, and here you can see now it's pretty much gone. Perhaps some scattered areas of rain kind of moving west to east, maybe a little bit heavier up in the Maine, lingering around. Storm strengthens a bit. You can see it right there, kind of squall line, perhaps bringing some thunderstorms across the Florida peninsula, like that. Alright, if we move forward another 6 hours here. Okie dokie, now that we've looked at what the GFS thinks that, what will happen in regards of timing and precip and how the storm transfers, I just want to note on something. As time moves forward, the GFS has really kind of hinted on that the main area of pressure making that coastal transfer, and I think that's really important to even get kind of a storm. The storm, if it were to move up through here, oop, sorry about that. If it were pretty much to move like right through upstate New York, right into Canada like that, it would not be as significant of a event overall. But if it really develops into a coastal low pressure, it'll be a pretty good April storm. Alright, so what you got in front of you is the GFS wind gust vectors in knots. Alright, so you can kind of see that squall line right through here with those winds really departing after it and kind of gusty ahead of it. Remember, these are gusts, not sustained. Alright, be pretty impressive if these were sustained. And there's also the directions on here, so yeah. Really looks like the GFS wants to give some pretty heavy gusts coming off the lakes, not necessarily coming off, but up into the Great Lakes region of the UP of Michigan. Detroit looks like it'll be windy. Chicago could be windy. Gusts up to 45 miles knots, which I'll get my knot calculator yet again. 45 knots is almost 52 mile per hour gusts, so no doubt some places could see up to 55 mile per hour gusts according to the GFS. And yeah, I'm just gonna kind of take this forward in time at 6 hour increments like I've been doing before. Alright, so if we move forward, this is 8 p.m. tonight. If we move forward 6 hours, you can really see, look at that, look at some of those shades in there, really dark. If we go down here, we can see that looks like there could be some spots getting above 55 knot wind gusts, alright? So that is over 60 miles per hour, alright? And some pretty variable winds up into New England here, alright? Nothing too substantial. You can see that squall line right through there, alright? And some heavy winds out in front of it, some really lighter winds on the backside. But yeah, let's move forward another 6 hours here with the GFS. Alright, so we had a pretty broad area of winds beginning to pick up into the northern part. Alright, you can really see that squall line right there with the winds departing quickly. Yeah, some pretty heavy winds along the coast there. Looks like those could be getting into up to 40 knots. Some heavier pockets in upstate New York there. But yeah, looks like Maine will be pretty calm. Not too bad. Pretty little windy in spots in the Ohio Valley there, but nothing too crazy. Alright, let's move forward another 6 hours. And here you can see the heaviest winds kind of right along the coast, departing offshore. Pretty calm in Florida, southeast. Perhaps some still gusty winds up into up into the UP. Pretty good gust in Massachusetts. All right. So for another 6 hours. Yeah. Luckily that is not on shore. It's some pretty broad, blown up winds there. You can see those really kind of as the ocean low develops. Really heavy winds just offshore Massachusetts. Perhaps some heavier winds up in northern Maine. Um, yeah. So now at this point the winds are pretty much over for the storm. Right, as you move forward a little more here, you can really see some nice calmness beginning to work into upstate New York. All right, and yeah, perhaps a little windy along the southern New Jersey coast and the Del Mar there. All right, let's move forward one last time with the GFS winds. All right, you can really see that cooling, perhaps some more windier spots kind of here, there. That's just pretty typical. Nothing really storm associated anymore. Maybe a tad bit windy up along the coast of Maine up into there. But yeah, at that point, winds will be over. All right, now let's move on to the GFS temps here. All right, let's just get this set up for one quick sec. Alrighty, so here you can see the freezing line right through here, just like this, right where I'm drawing. We like a roller coaster, yeah. So as you can see, compared to the NAM, freezing line is much more higher tonight. All right, 35 mark right into there, cutting Massachusetts right in half. Some pretty warm air here. Southern Florida getting above 75 there. All right, as you move forward a little more, not too much variation. Some cold air working its way in from the northern Canada into the UP of Michigan. Pretty warm up in here. Yeah. All right. Freezing line staying about the same in New England. Let's move forward another 6 hours. Not much change really at all. Pretty warm along the coast here. This is pretty much for Friday. Looks like northern parts of upstate New York, all those areas in there. They could be below the freezing mark. And it appears that, if I'm reading this right, that the 30 mark is right along here, like that. The 35 mark right along the coast, cutting through basically Boston. Southeastern Mass will be above 35, northern below. Alright, so potential for some freezing precip there. Getting pretty warm up into here. This is kind of, I mean, the GFS really disagrees with the Euro snow map because, it just doesn't see snow happening up into there. Looks like the UP will be very cold though, getting some 25s working in there. Along also with I mean, both the NAM show, not the NAM, excuse me, the Euro shows that freezing line really kind of retreating in the only extreme northern parts of Maine and areas such. Some pretty dang warm air working in there. Looks like the GFS could be showing, I guess, 100 there. That southern part weighs 100. Looks like, also just a note on 110 benchmark over in Mexico. Not sure where in Mexico that is. But some very warm air the GFS suggests working in on the backside. But yeah, so pretty much temps will be pretty much staying along that kind of freezing line. Most of Maine will be below freezing. UP and Michigan looking pretty good for snow. It's going to be a really close call up into central Michigan there, along with pretty much New England, upstate New York too. Looks like these regions kind of right in through here like this, kind of just west of Champlain Valley, northwest of Schenectady, if you guys know that region. Looks like they could be in for quite an ice storm, maybe. Probably not all the way up to Syracuse, kind of more south. I'll redraw that right in here. All right, let's move forward once more with the GFS temps. All right, you can see it stays the same and kind of retreating. All right, this is part 2. I will have part 3 right after this.